The vermis is going to be a narrow band that's going to be in between the two cerebellar hemispheres when they come together. And it's going to look like a little worm right between them. The arbor vitae is going to be an internal structure, and it has to do with the white matter of the cerebellum, so all the axons. Now, it gets its name as it translates to the tree of life, and the white matter appears like a tree internally, just branching out through the cerebellum. The folia are going to be the folds of the cerebellum. So similar to the gyri and sulci we saw in the cerebrum, the folia are just going to be the folds of the cerebellum, except for these folds are much smaller than just the gyri or the sulci are. So as we take a look, vermis is going to be this band of cortex right here in between both hemispheres. We can also see all these little folia or wrinkles all throughout the cerebellum. Looking internally, we can see the arbor vitae. Now, we're not going to learn the portions of the arbor vitae. We're just going to call this whole thing the arbor vitae, and you can see the white matter makes it look almost like a tree, hence its name, tree of life. Moving on to the medulla, this is the most inferior part of the brainstem, so it actually touches the spinal cord. You'll learn more about the functionality of the different regions of the brain when you get to physiology, but the medulla, for the most part, is doing the most basic life functions. The pyramids are just going to be ridges running right along the midline, so they're the most medial structures of the medulla. The olives are located just lateral to the pyramids, and they just look like little swellings. So taking a look at this medulla, we can see the pyramids just running lengthwise down here, right along the midline. And then we see the olives, which are just the swellings on either side. Now the pons sits just above the medulla, and it looks like a swelling. We are going to learn a structure on the pons called the middle cerebellar peduncle. And what this structure is it is a large nerve tract, so lots of neurons that are going to connect the pons to the cerebellum and allow them to communicate. There are a superior and inferior cerebellar peduncle, but we're not going to cover them in this course. One way you can also think about these cerebellar peduncles is that they are physical connection points of the cerebellum, as that's where the cerebellum will attach to the pons. So as we take a look here, we can see all three of them, but we're only concerned with the middle cerebellar peduncle, which we see right here. And so you can imagine the cerebellum sitting right here next to it, just attaching to the pons right there. That's what these peduncles are for. Moving on to the mesencephalon, remember this is the midbrain. We will find cerebral peduncles on the mesencephalon, so the nerve tracts connecting the midbrain to the cerebrum. We're also going to find something called the corpora quadrigemina. Now this is a group of 4 bumps. The top 2 will be called the superior colliculi, and these are involved with the visual reflexes. So when something catches your attention out of the corner of your eye and it makes you look at it, this is the part of the brain that's working. The inferior colliculi are going to be involved in hearing reflexes. So when a sound is made and it causes your attention to go towards that sound, this is the part of the brain that's working. So taking a look, the mesencephalon is here in green. We see all these bundles of nerves right here, which are the cerebral peduncles, just connecting it to the cerebrum, which would be above all this. We see 2 of the colliculi of one side here, so they're superior and inferior, so those are more posterior to the mesencephalon. Now looking at a posterior view here, we can see all 4 of the bumps, and so that is called the corpora quadrigemina, all 4 of these green bumps here. So the top 2 will be the superior colliculi. The bottom 2 will be the inferior colliculi. We also have to start with the arterial system of the brain. And if you'll recall, we talked about vertebral arteries in the previous unit.